Welcome back to my Hardcore Forever world, where in this episode, we are going to build an incredible castle to house our first iron farm. This castle ends up being full of life and super whimsical, and definitely one of my favorite builds. So enough talking, let's get started. But first, before we begin on today's project, there are a few things I'll need to get done off of my checklist. The first of that being fully enchant all of the rest of my gear. We did build this enchanting building a few episodes ago, however haven't really used it to its full potential, so I'm going to spend some time enchanting the rest of my gear, especially looking for a Silk Touch diamond pickaxe, which will help a lot with today's episode. So I'm going to take some time and search through the nether for some quartz and maybe use our zombie spawner as well, just to get up a bit more XP so we can start enchanting the rest of our gear. I really hate coming to the nether, especially in hardcore, but the nether quartz around here is just so good for XP that we just have to do it. But yeah, even though I've been here before, I'm still super uneasy coming here. Anyways, I'm going to go around and mine some of the quartz, and I'll see you once that's done. Alright, so I returned from our trip to the nether with 41 levels, which I think, if we're smart enough with how we enchant things, should be enough to get us everything we need. But worst case scenario, I can just take a quick trip to the zombie spawner, which should give us a few quick levels. Anyways, let's see what we can get on our first enchant. So first I want to check this diamond pickaxe. And just kind of like the Fortune 3 one, I want it to say Silk Touch. I don't want to take a risk on this one. So since that enchant was no good, I'll just go through all the other ones and see what we can get. And I'm sure you've all seen this before, so I probably won't bore you with it, but pretty much what I'm going to do is just go through, prioritize the Silk Touch enchant, but if there's nothing good, I will re-roll the enchants with just a level 1 enchant, and then hopefully we can get something good on our armor or our pickaxe. Alright, we have finally finished enchanting all of our gear, albeit some of the enchants aren't the best. They will do for now, but to give a quick rundown of what we got, we have protection 3 on the helmet, protection 4 on the chest plate, just unbreaking 3 on the legs, which is kind of unfortunate, but it'll do for now. And then of course the feather falling 3 boots from last episode. The sword we have Bane of Arthropods 4, knockback 2 and unbreaking 3, and then all these other tools were just from the last episode, but the most important thing is this diamond pickaxe here, which does have Silk Touch. Unfortunately only efficiency 3, but I really just wanted the Silk Touch. And if you're wondering why I need that Silk Touch for this episode, it's because I need stone and I need a lot of it. So far I've just been smelting cobblestone in my furnaces here, but honestly it takes a really long time just to even smelt a few stacks of cobblestone. And so like I said, for today's project we're going to need a lot of stone bricks. And I don't really feel like smelting cobblestone anymore, so I'll be using this pickaxe to just mine a lot of regular stone. Anyways, like I said, for this project, we'll need about 9 stacks of stone bricks, but we'll also need about 9 stacks of cobblestone and 9 stacks of andesite. And as you can probably tell, we're missing quite a few blocks from our list there, so we have a lot of materials to gather up. So I think it's time we once again head to the mines and see how much stone, cobblestone, and andesite we can collect. I'm hoping this doesn't take me too long because I'm super excited for today's project, and I'm really hoping we can get started on it soon, but we'll have to see. So for now, I'll see you after I've mined up all of the resources. Alright, so I finally got back from the mines, and this is all the blocks we were able to gather. And honestly, it really didn't take me that long. Even though my pickaxe only had efficiency 3 on it, it was still pretty quick and definitely better than, any iron tool or just a regular diamond pickaxe. So yeah, that definitely wasn't too bad. But before I forget, which to be honest, I did already a little bit, we have some farms to name. And so last episode, I asked you for your name suggestions for these farms, and I got a lot of responses. So thank you to everyone that left name suggestions in the comments. And so now it's time to start naming some of these places. So first for the cactus farm, we have the Cactus Cockpit, suggested by this person. For the sugarcane farm, we're going to go with Sugarcane Lane, suggested by this person. For the mud farm, we have Miss Seuss, who suggested Shrek Shack. I love the farm name suggestion, but your account name is a little questionable. Next, we have the melon and pumpkin farm, suggested by this person, to name it Melon Springs. And last but not least, of course, we have the bamboo farm, where this person suggested to name it the Bamboo Burrow, which I just really love that name. I think this is definitely my favorite of the episode, so thank you everyone for your amazing suggestions. Now that we've named all the farms, we can move on to today's project, which, like I said earlier, will be an iron farm. And I think I'm going to go put it over in this area back here. And so my idea for this farm is to have a giant castle kind of surrounding the iron farm, which I think would look really cool, especially since it'll be kind of out of the way of our regular stuff and you'll kind of see it in the distance as you're walking through our little town. But first, similar to last episode, this area and this plot of land is kind of messy. There's a lot of little holes and caves and little rough areas. So I'm going to take some time and start terraforming this area. First things first, I want to mark out a 27 by 27 area, which is about the same size as the entire build. Just like that. And so now we know how much space this thing will take. Alright, nice. So now that I have the area marked out, I can sort of visualize how much space I want surrounding this 27 by 27 area, and I can get to terraforming. So enough chatting, I'll start terraforming and I'll see you once all that's done. Before I could actually start the terraforming, I wanted to make sure no mobs would be spawning underneath the iron farm. So I had to first go around and light up any caves or ravines that I knew would get covered with dirt. After that, I could start working on flattening the area surrounding the iron farm, which was pretty similar to what I did over at the farming district last episode. I did want to make sure this farm had a bit of verticality, so I cut off the side of the hill to make a harsh drop, which would act as a sort of mini cliff. Alright, so we're at the point where I've got a decent amount of terraforming done, but at this part here, I kind of want to disconnect from the castle and the rest of the town. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of try and make a cliff or like a tall stone wall here. And I think that'll also make the castle look really cool, kind of sitting atop a nice hill there. But the problem is I've never actually built one of these before and I don't have a design in mind. So I'm just going to try and go and see if I can create something that looks good. And I think I want it to be mostly stone, just because I don't want it to look too unvanilla-y. I want it to still look pretty natural. Actually, just before we get started, I'm going to knock down this dirt just a bit more, just to make it a little bit taller. So I think how I'm going to approach this is just build a flat stone wall all around this and then go over and texture that, just so I can start getting a bit of a visual of what this will look like. Just something like that should do for now. And so now I'm thinking I'm just going to go through this and texture and add a bit of shape, because obviously we don't want just a flat wall like this. So I think in each of these corners I'm just going to add a few blocks, kind of just to smoothen out the shape a bit. Alright, that should be pretty good for now. And then anywhere where there's kind of a large flat section, I think I'm just going to add a little jut out here. And it's a little hard to see since everything is stone right now, but that definitely helps with the flat shape of it all. Oh, and that definitely looks pretty good from back here. So I think now what I'm going to do is just go around and start texturing it with a bit of andesite and a little bit of cobble and maybe some mossy cobble. I don't want to go too crazy with the cobblestone since that kind of takes away from the natural vanilla look of it, but we'll see. If I end up liking it, I might use more of it. Alright, and I think that's a good start for now. And for the cobble and mossy cobble, I think what I'm going to do is just go around the top and the bottom, since I figured that's where this wall would kind of be the most destroyed or kind of mossy with the grass next to it, and I'll see how that looks. Alright, so that cobble and mossy cobble is looking pretty good for now. The next thing I want to do is just go on with a few stairs and slabs and kind of round out these shapes just to make them look a bit more natural. Alright, and I think we're all good there. I just went around and added a few of the stairs and slabs, just to make it look like the rock has been chipped away a little bit. I also added a few leaves just to kind of give it a bit more of an interesting look. But for now, I think we're going to call that good. Obviously, there's still a lot more work to do, but I do want to take a break and actually start building the actual iron farm. I figured since we'll be building in this area anyways, might as well get the iron farm started, just so it runs while we finish building the rest of the area. So this farm does require about 3 villagers, and luckily we have this village right here, so I'm hoping we can just grab a few of these guys and it won't cause too many problems. And I think to transport the villagers, I'm just going to use a minecart and just kind of push them along the track. I'm really hoping this works out smoothly because I hate messing with the villagers. They're always just such a pain. And I think if I just use these workstations, I can kind of bait the villager over by the minecart. Hopefully he'll get in. Oh, perfect. There we go. And we should just be able to push this guy all the way over to the farm. Alright, and we finally got this first guy in the boat, which was not an easy task at all. But now that we have the first one, all we have to do is repeat that process for 2 more villagers, and then we can get the farm started. Alright, so now that we've got all 3 villagers here, we can finally get started on the farm, which I should mention is a design by Voltrox, which I think actually used it from Vaula, I believe it's how you say it. But anyways, I'll link the video in the description. So to get started, first I just had to find the middle of my section here, but you want to dig a 7x6x2 hole. And then on one of the longer sides, you want to come in and go 1 block in and dig a 3x3. And that needs to be 4 blocks deep. And then on the side that faces in, you want to dig out another section here, just like that, and then dig 5 more blocks like this. And then from there, you can just build a staircase up to the surface. Alright, so once that's done, you can just place in your beds, and making sure the top of them is facing towards the staircase. And then put in a few slabs, and a trapdoor just like this. And honestly, at that point, most of the work is kind of done. And you want to make sure to place in enough torches just to make sure nothing spawns down here. And the final step is to put 1 more boat down here just to catch the zombie. And if you're wondering how the villagers are going to get down there, all you have to do is wait for night, and then once you break their boats, they should go straight to the beds. Perfect, just like that. So now, to make sure the villagers are safe, you can cover up this hole, and now all we gotta do is find ourselves a zombie. Oh, perfect, there's one right here. Alright, so if everything was done right, this guy should go straight into the boat down there, but you never know what could happen, so hopefully he doesn't just eat all the villagers right away. Oh, perfect, okay, he went straight into the boat. Oh, nice. We already have some iron golems spawning, and the farm isn't even done yet. We do have a bit of spawn proving to do before the farm is actually functional. Alright, so now that the iron golems are spawning, that's pretty much the farm done. Minus, of course, the collection system, but first you have to make sure to make all the area around this a non-spawnable block. So an easy way to do that is just make the path blocks 7 blocks in each direction. Alright, so now that all the path blocks are there, we can go ahead and make the killing and collection system, which should be the last thing for this farm. First things first, I'm going to place in my hoppers here, and then put in the chest. And then to kill the iron golems, we're just going to make a simple lava killing spot. So put some blocks and some slabs on top. And then by putting in your signs, you can simply just trap a bucket of lava in there. And the very final step is just putting water in each of these corners. And now this iron farm should be fully functional. Of course, there are a few straggler iron golems around, so we'll have to deal with those first. Oh, nice. And the farm seems to be working perfectly. So we can call this farm complete. But of course, visually, it is far from complete. So let's get on that now. First things first, I had to tidy up the area a bit, since honestly it was looking really bad right now. So I got started by removing the minecart tracks that I laid out earlier. It was then onto some more terraforming, where I tore down a big chunk of this hill that sat right behind my starter house. It was kind of in an awkward spot, so I decided that removing it would be best. To make it fit in better, I had to also do some small tweaks to the nearby land, but those weren't too hard to get done. To finish the stone wall, on this side at least, I continued building the wall out into this nearby hill, and slowly merged the two together. This gave it a super smooth look that I honestly really liked. Once I had that section figured out, I could continue working on the big hill that previously sat behind my house. I waited until after that part of the wall was done to finish this, since I wasn't too sure on how the two pieces of land would connect together. Lastly, I just needed to finish up the wall on the left side, following the same steps as I did on the right side. This side, however, was a little more tedious to get done, since the various holes and ravines in the ground were a lot harder to work with. But in the end, I got it all done, and it was looking fantastic. Alright, so I finished up tidying up the area, and I've also finished the whole stone wall. And so now it's time we make a path up to the top of the stone wall. So what I think I'm going to do is just kind of come in this section here and make a little carve into the wall that goes up. And I'm sure you might be asking why I didn't do that from the start. Honestly, I didn't feel like doing it earlier. So now I'm going to have to tear a bit of this wall down and do it now. But I think the best way to do this is just to come in with some dirt and start a little plan of the path. And I think I want this path to be about 3 to 5 blocks wide. Just something like that. Then now we can fill in these little extra spaces with the remaining dirt. I'm also just going to toss in a couple torches here just so no mobs spawn. And now obviously we have to remake this outside wall. So I'm just going to get started on a rough shape here. And I think something like this should do fine. Now I'm just going to go in and fill in this extra space here with the dirt. And lastly, for this stone wall here, I'm just going to go through and do the same sort of texturing you've seen me do this whole episode. Alright, so we've got our path up nice and decorated here, but the top of these walls are looking a little plain and a little flat with the grass. So I think what I'm going to do is on the top of all of these stone walls, I'm going to go in with a little fence design, pretty much the same as what we did over there with the starter base. So I might go around and throw in a few fence posts and a few leaves just to kind of give it a bit of color. Wow, and I must say that's looking pretty cool. Especially if you imagine the castle right there. I'm super excited to get this project done. Speaking of the castle, it's time we finally get to start building it. Well, almost get to start building. I used a lot of stone for the walls, so I don't have enough to actually finish the castle. So I just need to grab a couple more stacks and we should be good to go. So I headed over to my state-of-the-art, super fancy stone mine. Just kidding, it was literally just a big room I dug out in my mine, which desperately needs a revamp. Is that a hint to a future episode? Maybe, maybe not, who knows. Anyways, after gathering the stone, I could finally get to work on the castle, starting with the 4 corner towers. I started to build these up, but soon realized I left this weird gap here. I originally designed it like this to avoid iron golem spawning, but when I was building it in survival, I realized they were totally useless and made the towers look a little weird. So of course, in classic ASUS fashion, I messed up the design of a build and had to tear it down. Thankfully, I only built 2 of the towers, so it wasn't too bad. Once I fixed the mistake, I rebuilt the towers using a nice stone mix. However, the stone mix is slightly different than the one I used in past episodes. So if you notice what's different, let me know in the comments below. Anyways, after finishing the first tower, I built 3 others in each of the corners, changing the height of each slightly to give the castle a slightly more interesting look overall. It was then onto the walls, which I made 9 blocks high using the same stone mix. At this point, the castle needed a lot more details to make it look better, so I started with these supportive bits at the bottom of the corner towers. These helped a lot to give the castle more depth and look a little more sturdy overall. After that was done, I then moved on to the castle walls, adding the staggered stair and slab design that really helped to make this build actually feel like a castle, and not just a giant stone square. I also topped the corner towers with a similar staggered stair design. From there, I wanted to add a couple roofs to the towers, so on one tower I built a spruce and deep slate roof with a steeper roof style. And on this other tower, I went for a dark oak and spruce roof, with a flatter roof style as to not make it too similar to the other. For one of the finishing touches, I designed these window designs for the towers using mostly walls and stairs. Using these window borders really helped give the tower some much needed detail and depth. Since these windows weren't actually functional, I wanted to give the illusion of something being inside of these towers. So I put some deep slate behind these iron bars to make it look like there were rooms inside. Next, I actually forgot I designed the towers with walls in the corners, so I went back and changed them. These walls helped so much with giving the towers a more rounded shape and really removed that blocky feeling they had before. Finally, it was on to the entrance, for which I wanted to make a nice big gate you can walk through. So, using a similar style as the tower windows, I boarded the gate with walls and stairs, and after adding this heavy wooden and iron gate, the entrance was done. And with the entrance gate done, we can officially call this castle done, excluding of course the path leading up to it and other terrain details that we'll get to work on right away. Alright, so I think we've got the whole castle done here, and I am just loving how this looks, especially from the ground level here. It just looks super cool, super sturdy like a castle should. Of course, walking through the gateway you do have the interior here, and it does look a little plain to be honest, but there's really not much we can do since all this does need to be spawn proofed. And just quickly speaking of the iron farm, since building this thing it has gone about 18 stacks of iron, which is crazy. This will definitely help out so much when I need more hoppers or need to make more minecart rails. So yeah, if you do need a good beginner iron farm, this one is definitely a good design to use. Anyways, back to the castle. I am just loving how this turns out. There's so many different angles that it just looks so cool from. And one of my favorites is actually when you come out of the mine and you see the castle in the distance and it just looks so cool right there. I just think that looks awesome. So yeah, I'm super happy with how this turned out. I think it's looking great. But anyways, like I said before, we do have a lot more work to do in this castle. Although it's looking super good, it doesn't really fit nicely into the surrounding area. So I think I'm going to take some time and start making the pathway that connects the castle all the way to our starter area. I'm also going to go around and add a few other decorations just to kind of make the castle feel a little more lively and kind of blended in with the area. So let's get to work on that. Anyways, with the path complete, we can now focus on the final touches to this castle. And so I'm thinking in the areas next to the path, I might just go and add a little stone wall, kind of just to block the area off, since I don't really know what I'm going to do with it yet. But that will allow me to fill in this area with a bit of greenery to kind of give it a pop of color. And speaking of color, I want to try something on the castle. I'm not sure if it'll turn out good, but I think I want to go in with a bit of moss and some mossy cobblestone to give it a little gradient here, just in some of the lower parts of the castle. And I'm thinking that might look really cool with a little green gradient going into some bushes down here. So I'll give that a try and see how it looks. Alright, so I finished work decorating the front of the castle and I think it looks amazing. I think it turned out super good and I'm so happy with it. Honestly, some of my best work yet, and especially this gradient here. I love how those turned out. I think they look super cool and really make the castle look a lot more whimsical. I was also worried that these firefly bushes wouldn't do anything, but at night they look incredible and it really brings the area together. Overall, I'm super happy with how this turned out, and I definitely think it's my best build in this world, and honestly, one of my best builds I've ever made in Minecraft. And I really hope you all agree. And lastly, I do want to name this castle, so as always, leave your name suggestions in the comments below, and I'll pick the best one for the next episode. Anyways, that's all the time we have for this episode, so I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.